Creativity operates inside the same networks that manage adaptation, regulation, and action. It is a process that reorganizes memory, sensation, and perception into new configurations that work: solutions, gestures, artifacts, strategies. Creativity appears when the nervous system must translate feeling into form and chaos into sequence. It shows up in improvisation, in a quick retort that disarms an aggressor, in a repair workaround that keeps a project alive, and in a painting that reframes grief. Creativity is not a decorative add-on. It is a mechanism for holding complexity together. Psychology, too, often isolates creativity as some exotic faculty separate from the everyday machinery of thought. That separation masks what matters. Creative work is intelligence in motion. It recruits fluid reasoning, emotional calibration, pattern recognition, and symbolic fluency and binds them to executive sequence. In practice, this means creativity modulates feeling so cognition can proceed. It turns ambiguity into handholds. It arranges experience so action follows. The creative mind adapts by recombining what already exists into configurations that carry meaning and function. Seen this way, creativity functions as structure. It contains effect so decisions can be made. It organizes perception so attention can land usefully. It produces symbols that reorder identity. It is a universal capacity, not an elite privilege. The capacity to invent and reframe is how organisms persist with complexity intact. When creativity is tethered to regulation, it produces coherence. When it untethers, when vanity, habit, or ambition sever practice from purpose, it produces spectacle and self-deception. Leonardo, the illusion of mastery. In the early 1500s, Leonardo returned to Florence and Rome trailing reputation like perfume, seductive, but ultimately vaporous. He entered courts and workshops not as a craftsman, but as a conjurer of attention. He built stage effects for pageants, designed water clocks that never kept time, and sketched ideal cities that were drowned in myth like Alexandria. His notebooks ballooned with mirrored writing, speculative devices, and symbolic dissections of thought, many of which were never tested, popping before his very eyes. He traded execution for spectacle and patrons for props. What he offered was not mastery, but momentum. He kept others circling his orbit, dazzled by the promise of genius while he quietly evaded its demands. Was he just a dazzler? A fraud facading feats from functional faculty? Leonardo's public work functioned as camouflage. He didn't share process, he staged it. He curated perception like a magician guards his sleight of hand. Was his optical tricks and mechanical sketches instruments of delay, a diversion to the theft taking place? He stole the hearts and admiration of everyone but was ill intent present, a deliberate delusion to paint himself as more than we are capable of. He manufactured complexity to avoid accountability. Where craft requires closure, he preferred the ambiguity of endless iteration. This wasn't absent-mindedness, it was strategy. Keep the audience guessing, and you never have to deliver the final act. Even his emotional intelligence, so often praised, was embedded in avoidance. His paintings withheld more than they revealed. In St. John the Baptist, the smirk is not invitation, it's deflection. In La Scapigliata, the unfinished hair and vacant gaze suggest not mystery, but abandonment. An abandonment he was content with. These were not portraits of people, they were portraits of retreat. Leonardo encoded effect into posture and shadow, but refused completion. The viewer is invited to marvel, not to understand. His intelligence was magnetic, yes, but it repelled intimacy. He built emotional architecture without ever stepping inside. Across this period, abundance and failure were inseparable. He proposed systems, hydraulic, theatrical, symbolic, that teased coherence but rarely delivered it. The reason his work was rarely commissioned. The grandeur of his name conceals a chronic defect, an addiction to possibility that displaced the labor of completion. He was not a master of painting, engineering, or anatomy. He was a master of beginnings, a virtuoso of deferral. His legacy is not one of finished works, but of unfinished wagers. Leonardo's intelligence was real, but it was evasive. He opened doors and then walked away, leaving others to admire the gateways. And yet, for all his evasions, Leonardo left behind a question that refuses to settle. What is creativity, really? The capacity to conjure what does not yet exist to its completion. His failures, though maddening, point to something essential, an intelligence that resists domestication. Defiance. Like a movie, his complete work was the extras, versions of his creativity that contradicted his lifestyle. Not the tidy intelligence of answers, but the unruly kind that multiplies questions. In this light, his unfinished machines and vanishing spectacles become less evidence of negligence and more like early tremors of a deeper possibility. That intelligence, unbound from completion, might serve as a generative force in its own right. Here, creativity begins to resemble a kind of philosophical extroversion, not merely social expressiveness, but a structural impulse to externalize thought, to test the world by projecting into it. What if the mind's highest function is not to solve, but to extend? To reach outward with symbols, systems, and spectacles that provoke response. From this vantage, we turn from the Renaissance workshop to the speculative horizon, where intelligence is no longer a trait, but a terrain mapped not by what it knows, but by what it dares to imagine. Is it the impulse to externalize thought, to test reality by projecting into it? Did Da Vinci reach outward to connect, or to escape the confines of internal silence? What happens when the drive to share exceeds the capacity to finish? Does that make us evasive or expansive? Is the mind's highest function to solve problems or to provoke response? Sci-fi humanity. It's a question science may never fully answer. Intelligence isn't just a metric or a trait, it's a mystery, a force, a phenomenon that seems to arise from somewhere deeper than conscious thought. I've caught myself doing things toward my own betterment instinctually, without planning or deliberation. For example, when someone tries to be nasty, before I even register their intent, I've already responded with a smooth, witty remark that blends seamlessly into the conversation. Only noticing it in retrospect. It's not rehearsed. It's not calculated. It's instantaneous, arriving at the beat of a thought. And all do this. All ruminate the remnants of image of God. We all have this ability. The mind-body system protects itself cognitively and physically through biological responses we often don't notice until after the fact. Reflexes, micro-decisions. Emotional pivots, they emerge from somewhere beneath the surface. So where does that come from? Because in moments like a quick rebuttal to a cruel comment, it seems impossible for the individual to consciously construct such a response. And yet, it happens. There are countless theories about intelligence, emotional, social, symbolic, executive, but the kind I find most relevant to a chapter titled The Creative, especially in the context of social stimulation, is what I call embedded instinct. It is intelligence that lives in the body, in the habits, in the reflexes. In a negative perspective, impulse. Our impulses themselves can be trained. It's the kind that doesn't ask permission from the prefrontal cortex, it just acts. Let's step away from science for a moment and enter a realm where superhuman ability is possible. Through self-actualization and habitual embedment, we can train instinct to behave intelligently. In a perfect case, a person could not only overcome their limitations, but develop methods so refined they become nature. They could embed what we consider the most intelligent human habits, empathy, timing, restraint, creativity, into their very being. Instincts like Agent 47 from Hitman. Instinct like command over adrenaline-fueled strength that lets someone lift a compact car in a crisis. A dystopian sci-fi reality. Adaptiveness is inherent to life. Whether that design was intelligent or accidental is up to debate, but the fact that humanity considers itself intelligent is undeniable. Every form of intelligence we recognize, human, animal, artificial, contains behaviors and habits. So just as we dissolve chemicals to uncover their compounds, we can deconstruct what is considered intelligent human behavior and replicate it. The key is repetition over longitudinal training. The only thing we truly lack is time, and the white coats are getting better at expanding that. We're living longer than ever. I think humanity has entered an era where we must learn how to live longer, because consider human history. This is all new to our genetic code. There's a sci-fi theory that if you change your habits well enough, if you embed intelligent behaviors deeply enough, you can alter your epigenetic code. You could pass on superior traits through nurture and nature. In theory, over generations, we could see a race whose intelligence far surpasses our brightest minds today. The waters are warm for this kind of evolution, thanks to technologies like AI. But technology can either break us or make us. In theory, one could choose the level of intelligence your lineage inherits. But no one is perfect. My own parents broke my heart, and I still consider them the best parents on the face of the earth. Let's consider what it means to develop the world. It's simpler than most think, at least for researchers and scientists. Look at the data and ask, what's missing? Creativity is the accumulation of your life, articulated in some physical form. If you want to enhance your creative intelligence, the kind that pays, then learn to combine what already exists. Don't rewrite what's already there. Use it to create something new. We all have the choice to view our instincts as impulses or embedded behavior through self or circumstance. The only real definition of intelligence is, what does it mean to you? Because what you think is smart might not be what others think is smart. And that's beautiful. Our differences shape the world. But how can you shape the world if you haven't yet shaped yourself?